Hey there berries, welcome to my new player EVERCORE Heroes objective guide. So this is going to help you understand what the objectives are in EVERCORE Heroes, what you have to do, and which ones you should be focusing on at different parts of the game. Now in EVERCORE Heroes there is kind of like 4 resources of colors that you want to pay attention to when looking on the minimap. You have yellow, blue, red and purple. Now this little cheat sheet in the back should be pretty helpful. If I move out the way a little bit, you can probably pause the video and read some of it. Actually, if I just make myself disappear, that'll probably make it a little bit easier. Yeah, you can freeze it here if you want to read for everything, but I will be going over everything. So generally when you're first going in onto a new map, you're with your team and you can split up into 2 groups of 2 and try and clear out as many trash mobs as possible. Kill the packs, get the gold, and then eventually you'll be led to kind of like the main kind of square where your core is, and that's the thing you need to defend. And you've got the shop there as well. Now generally the objectives are kind of randomized, so you could have the same map over and over again. You could be on crew mines every single time, but the objectives should be swapping around and be placed different to kind of make every single kind of gameplay different. So now some of these objectives will be on the map, some of them won't be, but generally when you're first going out after you've done the initial clear, is you're going to be wanting to focus on primarily yellow and red objectives at the beginning. Those will allow your characters to immediately get stronger, and that will mean allowing you to be able to clear more and more packs. So whether that's acquiring gold equaling buying shards from the shop in your town, or from the secret shop that you can find randomly again out in the field. Just a little tip by the way, there are signs sometimes dotted around with like an arrow pointing roughly where the secret shop is if you are struggling to find it when you're playing. So you know, gold is important to be able to make your character stronger, and then red also XP, lots of XP events on red, which basically means that you can get your abilities, get your ultimate, and you know, the stronger, the more XP you get, the more levels equals more direct power through magical power and attack damage as well, physical power. So generally when you're first going out, one of the highly sought after ones is the gold mine, which is with this symbol here. I'm going to fly over, I think, and just touch it for you guys. So this icon here is kind of like the 3 stacking bars up. That's the mines. So the mines are, let me see if I can find some footage. So this is a mine. Basically, you see kind of like this generator in the middle, and there are lots and lots and lots of mobs around that always spawn around a mine. And once you clear out all the mobs, a flying box will come down, and when you click on it, you'll start to generate gold over time for your team until the event starts where you'll be defending your core. So make sure that you want to try and take the gold mine as early as possible. There are 2 other mines as well that you can look out for. So go back to this, and you've got the Loom over time, which is the blue one, the XP over time, and you also got the purple one, and the purple one is just always disruption things, so that's to interrupt the enemy team. So that's to stop all other taken mines by other teams. Now the purple mine one is quite a rare one. I would say the yellow and the red mines are a little bit more common, and they're a bit more important than the other mines, because you want to get that immediate strength early as possible. I'd highly recommend you go over for the yellow gold mine to generate that gold as soon as possible. Right now, XP over time on the red generator isn't particularly fantastic. Of course, all of these things are subject to change. Right now, if you're watching this video a couple of days after it comes out, XP mine is generally pretty bad, but you will still get a lot of XP from clearing out the mobs. So if the red mine is nearby and your team has a lot of AoE to be able to clear it out, I'd recommend you do that camp anyway, because you're killing about 3 to 4 waves anyway of groups of mobs, and they're highly clustered, and you will get, you know, tapping in on the XP mine, you are going to be generating a tiny amount. So it is worth clearing if it's nearby, but don't go out of your way at current state to go for it. I assume over time this could probably change, where at the start of the game you're probably going to want to go for the red mine or the yellow mine at the start. But right now the yellow mine is the absolute priority. The reason why we don't really care that much about the blue loom in current state is because we need that immediate power. Blue loom does not give us immediate power. You might want to get this after the first surge wave. So say if you defend the core successfully, but your core took a lot of damage, you might want to go over and get that blue loom mine, because it's just going to help you get back into the game and maybe get you to that head-to-head. Also note that every single objective that you do for the first time, you get +5 additional loom for your team. So once again, if you are struggling on loom, it might be worth just doing as many different events as possible initially in order to get that extra 5 loom anyway, in order to like bump up, even if it's like it takes you a minute out of the way to do so and maybe not be as XP optimal. One of the other two really good events to do right now, or okay, maybe 3. So we've got the horn events. So that's once again the yellow horn, gold based on enemy slain, and XP based on enemy slain is on the red one. So 2 very similar ones. You just basically, you toot on the horn. I've got a video of that somewhere. So this horn here, you toot on that horn, mobs slowly start to spawn over time. The more of these mobs that you actually kill, you make sure you kill them to get the allocated XP or gold for them. You get gold or XP depending on what horn that you've done. The other 2 horns still do other stuff, which I'll go through a bit later, but basically the gist is kill as many things as possible. Generally you're saving like AoE ultis until around about 60 to 70% on the horn, just to make sure you clear out some of them. There are healer ones, make sure you kill those as quickly as possible. And then once it gets to around about 90% on the progress bar, just kill any minions that are like 50% or lower. Maybe not the tanky ones, just making sure you get killing blows on as many things as possible. So that's the horns, and yeah, the gold horn and the XP horns are generally the things that you're going to be wanting to do like second, primarily because you're going to have ultis in order to be able to clear more of those mobs. Like if you've got like an Aurea on your team that's going to do like a mass area explosion everywhere, you're going to get way more value from clearing up the horn once you have those ultimates, rather than just rushing to that straight away. Now, one of the other objectives that you could do at the very beginning, or very near the beginning of the game, is the gauntlets. So we've just gone through the mines, which is, I'm going to fly over again, proper cringe style. So that was talked about the mines earlier. That's the horn icon. So those icons will be on your minimap as well. Next, we're going to be talking about the gauntlets. These are the gauntlets. Now, the gauntlets are an objective where you basically have to stand on the circle, this circle platform, and kill mobs. I might need to go back in time a little bit because it looks like I've already done that. So this, the more players that stand on the gauntlet, the more green kind of like quarters get filled up over time. And then, you know, the bar progresses at the top. And then once, you know, the bar fully progresses at the top, then you get the thing that comes down, and it can be an item in some cases. It can be gold as well, or damaging enemy cores, which we'll talk about in a sec. But basically, the gold gauntlet is pretty good, primarily because when you take a gauntlet, you're denying that gold from the enemy team. So gold builds up over an amount of time, and then it resets to 0 once a team has claimed it. Now, it stacks over 50 over time per tick, up to 1,000 at least on the gold. So make sure you know, you don't want to be doing it when it's on the lower numbers like 100, because you're not going to get that much efficiency value. But once it starts getting around to about like honestly about 400 to 500 plus, teams are going to start looking at that gold gauntlet objective and looking to want to do them. So yeah, once those gauntlets are kind of stacked up, you're going to want to start heading towards them. You've also got the purple one, which I'm going to hide myself for. That can be quite good as well if you're near it and it's stacked over about 10, because that damages enemy team's cores. So once that hits like 10 or more, then you definitely want to start looking at maybe taking that for your team in order to do damage to the enemy team's cores, giving yourself a better chance in potentially head-to-heads or through the onslaught, which is coming down to make your team more likely to be able to make it through to the next round. Doing damage to other teams' cores can also make them panic a little bit and maybe go for blue objectives as well. The Loom events, which we talked about, aren't super kind of great character progression, but basically keeps your team inside the game still. So, you know, we're going to talk about it again. So once again, once you first come in the map, you're looking for a gold mine, you're looking for a gold gauntlet, gold horn. Basically all the gold yellow objectives are really, really good right now. Pretty much yellow objectives are basically tier 1, tier A, A rank, whatever you want to call it. All of them are generally very, very good that you want to go for. The red ones, I would say, generally are the second best, and also easy to do as well. Purple is third, and blue is fourth when you're first starting out into the map. So XP Horn is really, really good, particularly when you've got your ultimates ready. The XP Mine at current state is a little bit lower, but I'm sure they'll potentially buff it or make it more interesting like as the patches come out. So XP Mines will probably be higher priority as well at the start of the game. And don't forget, there is still those massive packs that you can clear out for XP as well. So it's worth doing if you're near them. Now, we have a couple of, so on red, we've got a couple of objectives here though that aren't super crazy good compared to like yellow. So the red gauntlet isn't XP. It rewards a shard. There's a patch coming tomorrow, which is going to make it all shards epic quality. So you could potentially get one of the people on your team a nice item, basically, which will make your team stronger overall. Like it can help you funnel one person a little bit. Even if you don't need the item, you better sell it for about 750 gold, I believe, once it becomes epic. So you can basically funnel a little bit of gold towards someone. Gauntlets don't take that much time to do, especially if they're nearby. And don't forget, when you do them, for the first time at least anyway, you get +5 Loom, which is a nice little bonus. But it's not super like urgent to do first thing out of the bat. Crucible as well, on red Crucible. We haven't actually talked about the Crucible yet. There isn't one for yellow, for gold at the moment. But if we can find the Crucible. So this is a Crucible. Basically, when you initiate a Crucible, mobs start spawning. At the moment, you just ignore them. And you just basically got to kill this Crucible as fast as possible. And just ignore the mobs that are spawning. So you can just use whatever you want just to kill it quickly. And then the thing will fall down. They're very easy to kill. They're the easiest objectives to do in the game and take the least amount of time. If they're right next to you, they're always worth doing, even if it's the Loom one, to be honest, just because of how quick it is. It takes about 20 seconds and gives, you know, a nice boost of whatever resource it is. I believe they are making those a little bit stronger next patch, but they're still going to be very squishy and very easy to do. So they are definitely worth doing if you do come across them. Anything else? So yeah, we're going into the purple ones. So the purple ones are good, but under set circumstances. So the purple horn. So remember, you're tooting the horn and mobs are spawning, and the more mobs you kill on a purple horn equals the stronger monsters that you send to the enemy team's core. So as soon as you pick up that box that spawns from the horn, and when you complete that objective, the enemy team will get sent mobs like after about 15 or so seconds. Now this is going to be really good if you time it properly in terms of one of the big events going on. Enemy team's distracted, they'll have to send one person back. If they're not paying attention, their core is going to take a lot of damage. And if they're not paying attention at all, and if none of them have a recall device which allows you to go back to the core straight away, they can take a ridiculous amount of damage. The core does retaliate and help kill some of the mobs, but the core will lose a lot of health. So you always have to be aware if there is a purple horn on the map, because you're going to want to pay attention to the map and the colored little balls on the map, which represent the other team players. Make sure that you don't get caught out, essentially, by that. There's no purple crucible. Purple mine is a weird one because it stops all other taken mines by other teams. Now, the priority on disrupting is if other teams have taken the yellow mines, and then probably the blue one, and then the red one, in that order. The blue Loom mine is probably better than the XP one, the red one overall. But basically, it's a team skill one, so you get a bunch of mobs around the mine still and clear that out of the XP, but you want to try and make sure you take that when teams have recently taken like the yellow gold mine, ideally, to deny them on that, or they recently had taken the blue Loom mine and to deny them that, so they don't get that generated over time. So if you're paying attention as a team, you can deny a good chunk of resources by doing that, but it's quite rare to see a purple mine disruption, and once again, you're not getting that immediate effect for your own team, you're just denying the other teams. So it's pretty good when you're ahead and you don't have to worry about objectives as much. If you're behind, it can be quite difficult to go for that purple disruption. So usually it's for a team that's ahead to try and punish, you know, the 4th and 3rd place teams, essentially. And then we did talk about briefly the purple gauntlet detonating, and doing damage to other teams' cores. That can just generically be pretty good once that hits around the 10 mark. So that's a pretty good one. And then also the sending things to other teams is also pretty good. So yeah, purple in terms of like, if you're ahead as a team, purple disruption becomes like quite good in terms of tier level, but falls off quite hard if you're like pretty far behind and you've got to play catch up and you're looking to, like, you know, need more XP, more gold, more loom. Then purple stuff becomes potentially less valuable, apart from maybe like the building a bomb one over time to damage opponents, because then you're denying the other team from damaging you. So you can do damage mitigation doing it that way. So the blue loom stuff at the moment, until they bring in more loom advantages for mines and for the harbor map, Loom doesn't have much value on those maps, but Loom is actually pretty good on the Moxie map. Because if you don't know, if you make it to the head-to-head on the Moxie event, which is the event where it's like a gauntlet and you have to defend your core from multiple waves of mobs again, the team that has the most Loom going into that event starts at 130, and the second team always starts at 100. So essentially what that means is that that first team has a massive advantage over the second team. Unlike the mines, unlike the harbor where you're up against the bosses, Loom, the ending Loom doesn't make a single difference at the moment in current state. So Loom is not very valuable on those maps, but Loom is super important on Moxie, because generally the team that gets first at the moment will 95% of the time win their head-to-head. So it's super important to make sure that you're up to date on Loom. So in some cases it's can be more important than yellow or red, the Loom, just to make sure that you're number one after, you know, the event where the surge happens, and you defend that, and then you're 130. So Loom, particularly on the second stage of Moxie, is very, very important. You could probably even argue, if your team is very, very confident, you could probably prioritize a little bit more on the Loom. But when you're coming across, like for example, the Loom Crucible, that's totally worth doing, because the Crucible only just, you know, it dies super, super fast. You don't have to do it at the start of, like when you go back out onto the map objectives, when the objectives reset, but you definitely want to build it into your path when you're playing Moxie in order to get that extra Loom. Loom Horn is generally pretty good too, and so is the Loom Mine, and also the Loom Gauntlet. All of the Loom things are generally pretty good in itself in terms of actual value, and how much Loom you're getting from these things are actually pretty good. It's just that you don't necessarily need them on Mines or Harbor for them to warrant to be like, you know, super, super good. It's just Moxie at the moment is where you want to prioritize it. So when you become more and more experienced with the game, you're definitely going to be wanting to weave in more Loom events for the head-to-head on Moxie. But when you're playing Mines and when you're playing Harbour, generally I focus a lot more on yellow and a lot more on red, and the occasional purple, and timing the purple horn, if there is one, to interrupt the enemy team, to cause some disruption there when they're doing the Loom event, when all the teams are gathering around the Loom event. Is there anything else I really want to go over there? Not particular. I mean, those are the main events on the minimap. There are a couple of things not on the minimap that you should be aware of. So if I go through my VOD, so we've covered the horn there. So we've got, I call him Richard, because he's the rich lizard. I think he's officially called the Loom lizard. But the Loom lizard here, this little lizard here, he gives you gold. In the patch that's coming, you're going to be getting a gold generating shard. So you can basically, essentially I believe that you're going to be able to funnel one teammate extra gold generation over time. So you can give that generally to one of your carries just to get them more gold over time. It's going to be a pretty nice extra thing in your pocket. Also pretty nice on like Aurea, because at the moment Aurea gets extra 60 AP, I believe, 60 magical power per shard she has. Even like the bounty vouchers, for example, which I'll talk about in a second, count. But those aren't marked on the map. But you can come across these lizards, and when you kill them, you get the gold. I think at the moment it's about 300, but I don't know if they're removing that and just changing them into gold shards, like I just mentioned. Also around the map are gold mines, which is, once again, once you kill the mine, you get a bunch of gold for your team. You've also got these purple shards. When you break the shards, you give, I believe it's 2 players on your team, might just be 1, 2 players, up to 2 players on your team, a shard. The shards are generally that great. They're quite nice to just vendor. Some of them have some quirky stats on, you know, they're better than nothing essentially. So they're worth killing still, and then you can just vendor them for just a bunch of change when you next go to the shop to replace it with something else. That's quite nice to do as well. Other things we have are on mines. You've got these little teleports. So if I zoom in, you can see 2 of me there, but these little purple kind of diamond circles on the map. On the map they'll be grayed out, but once you clear out one of these camps, so that this purple thing, this pink circle thing, is a teleporter. So once we kill all the mobs in the area, so once we killed out all these mobs, this teleporter will then become active, a little orb will come out, and then we can use that or we can click on our core to then teleport to those areas to get around the map a little bit quicker, which usually helps quite nicely going into phase 2. And now we have kind of the actual like Loom events, which I'll go into because I know a lot of people have been asking them and they're kind of confused about what to do. So this event here, if I just make this a little bit smaller, make this a bit bigger, there we go. Right, this is all on my Twitch stream, by the way, at twitch.tv/Bizzleberry, so this is all like pre-recorded stuff that I've already uploaded. But basically this is one of the Loom events. This one's called Trial of the Vanquished. So there's going to be 4 circles around, and we basically need to kill the monsters on the circles, and when they die they will light up one of the flames around the circle. You need to light up 5 flames around each of the circles in order to complete the objective. You can tell when a mob is inside the circle and they'll get a little purple flame above their head. So sometimes like the mobs are on the edge and it's quite difficult to tell, but once you get closer you see how like this green elemental here has this like purple flame above its head and moving around now. That indicates that when it dies it's going to contribute to the flame on that circle. So lots of like pushing and pulling abilities are really nice for this event to help get you the advantage here. Next we have the dueling spiders. This is going to be quite a messy event. Sometimes it's actually easier with fewer people, but basically you want to kill the spider, and then also there's a green spider where the healer needs to heal the spider, and when the spider is fully healed it will drop little mines down on the ground. Basically you want to drag the big boss dude while you're hitting it over the mines in order to amplify the damage it takes by a good chunk. But yeah, generally this is quite easy when there's only one or two people on an event, because the aggroing threat here is quite bad. So here, for example, I think I end up getting aggro because I used everything and there's no mine near me. The mine is like on the opposite side of the room, so yeah, don't end up getting to that quick enough, and didn't do quite well on that event because I didn't pay attention to the aggro. Next event here is the Contest of Fortitude. Basically, someone needs to stand on the middle. Over time, more and more of these turret lasers will go onto someone in the middle and they will take damage over time. But when you are standing in the middle of the circle, you got like a little red debuff with like a health cross, and that's like kind of crossed out to indicate you can't receive healing. So you can't receive any healing at all when you're tanking that event. So your healers need to heal the person as soon as they come out, and then someone needs to swap, and then you need to swap back in again. Shields are pretty good on this event. Shields mitigate a lot. Any other defensive things that you have also super good. So that's how you do that event. One more here I want to show you. There's two more events here, but I've only got footage of this one right now. This is the Golem Titan. So when it spawns, you basically just need to kill the Titan. Healer needs to heal these two statues on the north and the south in order for lasers to hit the Titan, which basically either it takes damage or it just takes increased more damage. I think it puts maybe like resistant debuffs maybe on it. I'm not fully sure what the turrets do, but you need to heal them so you can do more damage to the Titan essentially. That's basically the gist of it. There is one more event where there's 6 circles. You want to spread yourselves out on one on each one. There'll be 2 spaces, obviously, because there's only 4 people in the team. When a circle lights up pink, you want to make sure someone's standing in that, and then it will channel stuff over towards the center. Basically, you want one person at least in. But there's always 2 circles that get lit up, and you want to make sure 2 people, well, one person in each circle are in that at all times. To basically, progress through that. You get Loom, as you can see here, second place, 35 Loom. You get Loom depending on where you place. Some teams, when they're doing really well after the first event, some people just ignore this event completely. You can just send someone over just to tag it so that you get 4th place or 3rd place, so your team still gets some Loom. But you didn't put the effort to sending your whole squad over there while the rest of your 3 other members are clearing out the map instead. That is a total valid strategy at the moment. So you can kind of ignore these events if you are really far ahead, and you can focus more on getting XP and gold or items or farming elites. One of the other things that we didn't mention on the map are elites that you can kill, which drop epic items. Some of them better than others. But either way, you can still sell them for gold if you want to, but some items are super strong, and you should be like looking to hunt those down as well. Particularly once you've got like your ultimates and stuff, going for those elites is like way more efficient, because some of them can be pretty tanky, and without your ultimates and maybe without a couple of shards or levels, you can be spending quite a long time just killing one of the elites. So sometimes you can go past them if you feel like the item's not deemed worthy enough. But one benefit also of killing the elites is that they do give a massive chunk of XP. So you are rewarded in items and XP and gold for finishing off an elite camp. But sometimes it can just take a little bit too long to kill them earlier on. But there are some like really good items like Lone Wolf and Parting Gift and Inner Fire are some favorites. I'm sure there's like 1 or 2 other ones that I've missed out, but those are like the main ones. Mainly the DPS ones are really nice. The tanking and healing ones aren't essential right now, but maybe they will be once balancing kind of kicks in and makes tanky people more tanky. Items needing to help tanks be more tanky and healer items being required more, then it could make a shift in kind of the meta in that regard. So yeah, hopefully this kind of video gives you a good kind of overview rundown of like the objectives in EVERCORE Heroes. Basically, you want to focus on when you're first going at the gates, the yellow objectives and a bit of red if it gives XP. Nearer the end of the event, you may be looking at purple disruptions. If you're playing on Moxie, you're definitely making a little bit more of a steer towards those blue Loom ones. The blue Loom values, the raw values of them are pretty good. It's just like if you don't need the Loom, then they're just terrible. It's just a waste of time. But if you do need them, then like if you need to catch up in Loom because you did really bad in like holding off your core, or if you just want to make sure you're number one on Loom or for the Moxie event, Loom is like super like more valuable as the game goes on and doing better in those events and stuff like that. But yeah, generally at the start you're looking for the red, the yellows and then the reds. That's generally what you should be doing. So yeah, I think overall if you had to prioritize exactly, like ideally you probably would be going for like the gold over time first mine into like the gold gauntlet, but you know, as mine games start to happen and you can see where other people are positioned, sometimes you might just want to go over to the gold gauntlet a bit earlier on just to deny that from the other team from being able to take it, and then make your way over to the gold mine. But once again, it does always, like, you know, depend on how far of a distance it's going to take you to get from point A to point B, where the first Loom event is going to be, because you don't want to be too far away from the very first Loom event. If you're on the opposite side of the map, you're basically sacrificing that event and not going to get any Loom from that in order to clear out what you wanted to do on the other side. So you do have to kind of weigh up, like, is our team being on the opposite side of the event, on the map to the event, is that worth it? Are you okay, like, giving up on that event, etc.? So yeah, it lots of different things. There's going to be lots of different theories in terms of, like, you know, per map state, what is going to be better and what's not going to be. That's the fun of the game, honestly. It's just working out where your team should be kind of going in terms of like a macro sense, and then playing it out on a micro level in terms of how you're dealing with the packs, how you're dealing defending your core, how you're dealing sending stuff to other people, how you're dealing having all of these other things happening to your team as well. So really good game if you haven't played it already, and hopefully if you are playing the game, this helps clarify some of the things that are going on in the actual game itself. So all the best if you do enjoy these EVERCORE videos. Be sure to subscribe. I've got more coming. Going to be covering a new hero soon called Clementine coming over. I know a couple of people want me to cover Zari, and I'll be doing that very soon as well. And we'll be looking at the new secret shop items that are coming out in the next patch as well. So might be changing up the meta slightly, but we'll have to wait and see. All the best, berries, take care, and see you soon for another video. Bye!